Well, I'm Bob Powell, and this is my wife, Maggie. In 2015, in February, we spent a month in Port Elizabeth, volunteering, teaching, working in Emma Feeney School. Perhaps you'd like to say how we got involved in volunteering right from the start.
Okay. Well, we've always wanted to volunteer, but events in our lives have not allowed us to do so. And when we realized a few years ago that even at our age we could possibly do some volunteering, we looked into it with Saga, and they were in contact with Paul at Calabash in Port Elizabeth. And so the last year, 2014, we took a holiday in South Africa and made a special journey to Port Elizabeth precisely to see Paul at Calabash. And we met him for about 2.5-3 hours, and we were very impressed by the work that he was doing, and we thought that that was the kind of thing that we would like to be involved in. We mentioned that we'd come across his name through Saga, but he suggested that we get in touch with people and places and try to organise our time in South Africa through people and places. So, would you like to?
Well, we've both spent our life career in teaching, secondary school, university teaching, teacher training, and our area is languages. It doesn't really matter where your expertise lies. There's always a job to be done in this volunteer world. We found ourselves allocated to Emma Feeney School, and I ended up teaching most of my time in grade 5, and you were in grade 6.
Yes.
Never taught children that young before, but teaching is teaching, and we took to it, I think, very well. It was good for us on a personal level. It was good for us to get back into classroom teaching, having a sense of the need to plan, structure our lessons, delivery of lessons. To be honest, things were pretty chaotic at the beginning of the school year, and it took a while for things to settle down. But we had time to explore some of the materials that were available, particularly the assessment materials and the curriculum, through the South African government education websites. That was good preparation. And we also had the advantage of, through people and places, of the contacts that they had put us in touch with, email contact, telephone contact, and of course attending back this time last year one of the socials that they organised in Faversham.
How important was having contact with previous volunteers?
I think that was one of the most useful aspects, because people who already knew the school were able to tell us about the school and about what they'd been doing in that school, and actually point out quite a few of the difficulties that the school faces. I think that when you get there, obviously it is possibly even more challenging than one had envisaged. But I think that one of the things that was both positive and negative was that we were immediately put in a classroom situation, and within, I think in my case, within 3 minutes, and in Bob's case within 6 minutes, we were actually standing in front of the class teaching. This we can do quite easily, because teaching English as a foreign language is not a million miles from teaching a foreign language in this country. But we became locked into that situation. Now, this had the advantage of allowing us to get to know the children, whom we found really wonderful, and I mean so well behaved and so eager to learn, though some of them were greatly disadvantaged because they'd missed out throughout their school careers. But the classroom experience for me and for you, I think, was really, really good. But we felt that we could perhaps have used our expertise more
broadly.
Broadly, if we'd had the opportunity to step outside the classroom and work more with teachers in general.
Yeah, I think if I can pick up on that point, we did organise a teacher workshop. We expected half a dozen to come from the school, but in fact we ended up with 25-30 of the teachers, which was great. We gave
they were enthusiastic, were they?
Yes, they were keen. I think they were very inquisitive to find out what we were going to deal with, but we also we talked about planning, we talked about our impressions of the school, and the methodology, the textbooks that they had to deal with, and sometimes the cultural mismatch between what the resources represented for these township children and the rest of the South Africa community. We had a good time. Maggie gave them a lesson in Italian to put them in the learner's perspective, which was great fun. Everybody enjoyed it, but it made them realise how much practice and reinforcement you need in language learning. To be honest, the teaching methods that we observed are pretty basic, whole class centred, rote learning, a lot of choral repetition, a lot of turning the page with just reading the explanations and going on from one exercise to the other. So there was plenty of scope for us to give a bit of practice of pair work, group work, children moving around the classroom, having a product at the end of a learning cycle, such as posters on the wall or letters to our granddaughters back home. So we try to give a few indicators of different types of teaching style, which we think had some impact. We'll never know how much really, but some impact on the teachers we were working with.
When did you come back?
We came back in March 2015. I will mention one other element. You want to talk about the parents' evening?
Well, you can talk about that. Just to add, one of the things I suppose that shocked me particularly was we went into the classroom. The classroom did have posters up because periodically posters would arrive in the staff room and all the members of staff would rush to get whatever they could to stick up on their walls.
Yeah.
But there was none of the children's work on the walls. And one of the great things for me was to be able to work with groups of children and actually put their work up on the wall, because I think it's so important for them to see that their work is valued.
Yeah.
You know, and they really appreciated that, with photographs of each class. So I thought that was really positive. But also this outreach to parents was important.
Together with Susan, the other volunteer who was in school at the same time, we organised a parents' evening in order to encourage the parents to get involved with supporting language learning at home. That was precisely the title, really. How can you help your child with language at home? And we had, I think it was something like 400 parents turn up, which was chaotic but fun. And we managed to demonstrate some of the activities we'd done in class with them and more. And I think that had a real impact for the school. It was good for the school as a whole, good for the head teacher to see, the principal to see parents getting involved. And that was followed up, I know, by Susan when we left, with bringing in more parents to help with reading and support with teachers in the classroom. Anybody contemplating going to work in school in South Africa, in the townships, I think has to bear in mind several factors. One, there is a very traditional teaching methodology. Two, there are resources, but they're not always readily available, and you may need to open cupboard doors and poke around to find exactly what they say is there, but nobody's ever found it, or they've forgotten they've got it. Three, the range of ability that is every classroom. I mean, not just age range. I mean, grade 5 were from about 9 to 12 years of age in one classroom. It
and
was even wider in yours.
Amazingly, as you go higher up the scale, you get a bigger age range because of the poor children who've virtually dropped out.
Yeah.
Because my youngest child is 9 and my eldest 2 children of 15, which is an impossible, age group to cater for.
It's all mixed ability. Size of classroom is another factor. I mean, I had 52 in one class, with children sitting on boxes and
sharing
chairs and so on. So it is a challenge in that sense, but the children are so keen to hear what you have to say and follow up what you have to do. They're keen to learn with you, and that was, for us, I think, one of the most rewarding aspects of it. Sure, there are plenty of challenges.
And they make an effort, don't they? Whatever their background, they still make an effort and want to join in. And that was really wonderful.
Sounds as though you had a really good time.